Hi all. It's been a long time since we talked about our pedigree study, the study on the effects of the university prestige on the student performance. And so lots of developments lately in general and in the last couple of days in particular. So instead of writing a long email, I thought I would just show you where we are and what we do. And so let me share my screen so you can see it on the screen, and I will show you where we are now. So as you know, you have access to all the files in a shared folder. And sorry, that's the wrong one, the predictive power of pedigree. And so over the last several months, we've conducted lots of tests and tested basically the data every possible way to see if the university rank predicts, explains performance of the students. And we literally tested probably hundreds of models by now in different configurations, different levels, different mediators, moderators, and so on and so on. And by the way, Ernesto and Anna did most of those analyses, so we owe them a big one because they must have spent probably hundreds of hours by now. And so one of the things I did in the past few days, I've gone through a lot of files and result sets of results that have been produced by Anna and Ernesto, and tried to select those that kind of fit into a coherent picture. So something that we can use so we can finally have a nice coherent story presented in this paper. And so there are several developments that changed the paper from the previous version to the current version. One, I redid the theory part in a way that now we have a hypothesis for each of the elements of our model. As you remember, we created the model that we call set EAT, I guess. So set for the positive effects of the university prestige, and EAT for the negative effects. So positive because those students are better selected. Environment, so they're in an environment that is more inspiring, that is more nurturing. And task, so they're better prepared for basically training, so they're better trained. And then EAT model is the model of the negative effects. So we have here envy, so maybe they are good performers, but people don't like them because they envy them, and so give them lower scores. Arrogance, maybe they are better, but they're arrogant, and that creates all kinds of problems with the team dynamics, which damages performance. And T, task oriented too much on the task and less on relationships, and that leads to conflicts, all kinds of things that damage the performance. And so one of the challenges with the hypotheses we had was, how do we reconcile the the direct and indirect effects? And so we thought about creating a set of separate sets of hypotheses for those, but then eventually I kind of combined them. And so now the hypotheses read something like this. Like, for example, when we talk about, let's say, selection, then it says students from more prestigious universities perform better. That's your direct effect. Why? Because they've been selected for better cognitive skills, maybe better work ethics, maybe better language skills, personality traits, international experience. And so that's what kind of mediates this relationship. So higher rank leads to better traits, which in turn leads to better performance. So we have direct and mediated effect here. Same thing when it comes to environment. So again, students from more prestigious schools perform better due to, and then values, habits, inspirations that they receive from interacting with professors and students on campus. And the same thing applies to all 6 hypotheses that we have here, 3 positive, 3 negative effects. I also added a couple of hypotheses for the moderation. One of them was on the moderating effect of the level of studies, with the premise that for the graduate students, the effects will be stronger, both positive and negative, than for undergraduate students. For example, if we talk about selection, it is positive, but it will be stronger for graduate students because they're even more rigorously selected, And as a result, the effect will be even stronger. Or if we talk about even the negative effects, like, for example, envy or, for example, arrogance. Yes, graduate students have been longer in that kind of elite education system, so they may be even more arrogant, even more self-centered, and as a result, the problems will be even bigger, and so on and so on. And then one more idea was suggested today by Ernesto, that maybe we should look also at regional differences. Rank of the university is something that is very popular in the United States, maybe also in China, maybe in Russia, but much lesser kind of importance in, for example, Europe. And so maybe we should say that, again, all those relationships will be true, but they will be even stronger in the United States and maybe weaker in Europe. So that's basically the theoretical part. And then the most important part, I was going literally through hundreds of pages of results printouts, and I was trying to create tables that will communicate the main findings and present, as I said, a coherent story. And so we had some basic data here, correlations among this. So where it starts is table 3. So in table 3, we will report correlations among the control variables. So just how the university rank and peer evaluations or performance report quality correlate with age, gender, studies, so all those controls. Just want to make sure that we account for things like age, for example, when we talk about the performance as an outcome, because it could be not the rank of the university, but maybe it's just older people perform better, who knows. So, but this one's basic nothing, basically correlation matrix. But that's where it gets interesting. So if you see it on your screen, so for each set of the results, I created tables. For some of them, or some of those cells, we already had the numbers. For some, we didn't. And so as you see, each of them has 6 sections. So we have the positive effects, and we have the set model, selection, environment, training, and we have the negative effects, EAT model, envy, arrogance, task. By the way, envy, arrogance, task can spell EAT, or we can also call it T, task, envy, arrogance. So I'm not sure which one of them kind of sounds better as a word, and I'm not sure if we should even worry. But if you think that T sounds better than EAT, maybe we should just call it, that. Doesn't matter. But anyway, so here we will have first a set of measures of each of the, kind of proxies for each of the components. So for example, selection. Students are selected for general skills, cognitive skills, number of languages they speak, working languages, proficiency, international experience, personality, stuff like that. And so we'll first just simply report the correlations. So we will see if the people from higher ranked schools score higher on all of these or all of these. And so we just basically have correlations, essentially, right? Or maybe mean difference if it's appropriate. But I think since a rank is a continuous variable and most of the other ones are continuous, so I guess we just go with a correlation, or we will use also row, which gives us roughly the same number, but the one for ordinal data, for rank data, sorry. So this one's, again, very straightforward. That's what we had in the past. The difference is that, as I said, all of those performance and skill indicators are now split into the blocks as per our theoretical model and hypotheses. So, and then obviously we have overall performances measured by peer evaluations and overall performances measured by the team report quality. Then we have the moderating effects. And so that's where we created this table that will look a little, in a sense, strange, but at the same time seems to be the most efficient way to present it. So we will look at the moderating effect of, for example, the level of studies, undergraduate, graduate. And so instead of, like, each of these rows is basically a separate regression, right? For each of those rows, we will measure the A on B, C on B, or I guess it should be B on A, C on A, and then the interaction between A and B, C and B on A. And because it will be, if we wanted to report the whole table each time, it will be, 20 pages of results. So what we'll do is we'll just have each of these effects direct, and then, rank, and then the moderator, and then the interaction term, and then the additional variance explained by the moderator term. So this way we can combine about 20 different moderator tests into a concise one-page table. And that will tell us if any of those results, any of those effects, relationships, are moderated in this particular case by the level of studies. If we decide to also retain the regional differences as a moderator, then there will be another table, and it will be like, for example, United States versus the rest of the world, or maybe versus Europe, or whatever we will put there. So Anna and Ernesto are planning to do all those results. And as you can imagine, as I said, it's each of these, it's a separate set of regressions, and it's a separate set of indices. So it will take, quite some time to do. And then the same thing for the mediator. Again, so according to our hypotheses, we tried every possible, as I said, mediation model, but essentially we would like each of these factors to be a mediator. So what we're saying is that rank of the university predicts performance. And then for each of those, we say because those students from better schools are better skilled, they speak more languages, they're more fluent in working language, they have more prior international experience, they're more proactive, they're more conscientious, they have greater self-efficacy, they have greater motivation. So each of those is basically a mediator. And so again, instead of reporting 25 different mediation models, each one with several sets of regressions, because you do the direct effect and indirect effect, you know how to test mediation. So we thought we would just have one table, and because the direct effect is essentially the same number here, so it's going to be the more or less partial correlation between rank and between report quality. So we'll just use the other ones as mediators, and we'll report the kind of mediating effect and then change in R squared, or indirect effect essentially. So we'll see again, report quality is the ultimate outcome. Maybe we'll also use peer evaluation here, though again, the problem here is that peer evaluation is in some cases the actual predictor or mediator. So maybe for those we'll just keep it empty. So, but anyway, again, about 20 sets of regressions, each like 3 times to test mediation effects. And that would will be done. And that's where we will stop. So that's where we will stop. So we'll have a nice block of 6 blocks of variables. We will report them as correlations. We will report them as moderators in 1 or 2 tables, and we'll report them as indirect effects, as mechanism. And that's the paper. So that's the most comprehensive and at the same time compact enough. One decision we made today is that we will not touch the team level analysis, because that will complicate the matters a lot. And so we will write a separate paper where we will look at whether or not rank of the university predicts performance in teams, in the sense that it will be average rank of the team members and performance of the team. So not individual pedigree and individual performance, but team average pedigree and team performance. And so there it will be not only the team level of analysis, but we'll also look at things like, for example, dispersion. So if a team is comprised of people with roughly the same pedigree versus if a team is comprised of people, some from elite universities and some from no-name universities, we'll see if that dispersion moderates the relationship, but it will be a separate paper. It's just too much for one, and too many different ideas there, they deserve a separate paper. Oh, and one more comment, the moderator and mediator tests here, we will definitely use the controls. So all of these effects will be after controlling for age, gender, and maybe even a couple other, basic factors, just to make sure that we are looking, at the clean, nice effects. So that's the plan. And in the next day or so, I'm planning to take a look at the data and see if we have measures for all of these, because it looks like there are a few factors that we may not have the data in our database that we currently are using. And then once the data have been cleaned up, not cleaned up, added, if there are any missing data, they're all clean by now, but once the data are in the data set, if any are missing, then Anna and Ernesto will run the additional analyses, and it will probably take them several days. Like, I know it will take 15 minutes or so per regression to run, to record the data. So, and there are like 50 or 25 for each of the models, but then we have multiple moderators, multiple mediators. So it will probably take 10, 15 hours of actually just running regressions, recording the results. But once we have that from them, once we have the data in the tables, that's when we can basically stop and look at the analysis, see if we see any interesting trends, see if we are finding what we expect to find, and then I will work and update the methods section. It's been updated now, but it seems like once we do the analysis one more time, more updates are needed. I will write up the results. Again, we have much of that already, but whatever the new numbers tell us. And then the discussion, I guess, will be more or less obvious anyway. So again, if any updates are needed, I'll do that. And once I have the final draft, I'll send it to all of you. And so you will polish it some more. And I guess once that is done, we will submit the paper. So far, we know based on the tests we've done so far that the results are kind of the worst kind. We were happy and prepared for the results that would tell us that university rank consistently predicts performance. We would then say, yes, students from better schools perform better. Good story. Or we were prepared for the opposite outcome, that no, there is a zero correlation no matter how you do it. So people from better schools do not perform better, or maybe even perform worse. Again, if we saw that, that would have been a nice story. What we got is it's a mix. There is a correlation, but it's very weak. And we can't say that it doesn't matter, but at the same time, we cannot say that it matters a lot. So it kind of matters, but not much. And then once you look at all of those different measures, again, sometimes it matters more, sometimes less, sometimes not at all. And again, I wish it was nicely and block by block. So like these matter, these don't. Or people from better schools perform better on this. Like, for example, they always write better reports, but they, get lower peer evaluations because everybody hates them or something like that. So that would have been fine too. But in our case, as I said, almost everything is significant, but marginally. And the effect sizes, so the significance level with the large data set, it's still, like p-values are all fine. But once you look at the effect sizes, it's like, like 1 extra percent, 2 extra percent in performance. So which means like, yes, they will probably perform better, but like by 1 or 2 or 3%. So they will not make a huge difference. And so that's not a very sexy story, because it's not, this is true or this is true. It's more like, yeah, this is true, but, don't pay too much attention to it. But in any case, we tried it every possible way. That's what the data tell us. So that's what we'll report. And and I guess we'll just, stick with that. So the story will be that it kind of matters, but it will not solve all the problems. And if salary is very different, maybe you're better off hiring someone from lower schools. If money is not an option, that yes, people from better schools will perform probably a little bit better. And we'll see what else will come up after these additional tests. So now me data, Ernesto on results, me update methods results discussion if the new results will require for such updates, and then back to the rest of you so you can also read it, polish it, especially those of you who are native speakers. That's when it will be very helpful, but also check our math and stuff like that. And my hope is that in the next several weeks we will be able to do that and finally submit this paper, and then maybe move on to the team level. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch soon.